Today marks the most craziest decision I made in my life, and that was to leave my home in the UK, start my journey backpacking solo around Southeast Asia at only 18 years old. The first country I visited was Singapore. I flew the day after Christmas, flying from London to Paris to China, and then I arrived at my destination. From the airport I got an Uber, and I just remember falling in love with Singapore straight away. It's really easy to get around the city, and God bless the aircon in MRTs and also buses, because I would have died from the heat. I also made 2 friends from my hostel, and we explored Chinatown and Little India together. Singapore was so beautiful, and I found it intriguing that there was so much nature around me, with also the mix of the modern buildings. I made it my mission to visit all art galleries in every country I visited, so I went to the National Museum in Singapore. At the beginning it did feel really weird to be on my own, but I got used to it over time. One of my favourite memories was watching the light show at Marina Bay Sands with my friends, and we just laid underneath the trees and we just looked up at the LED lights. Then we planned on New Year's Eve to party on an island called Sentosa, which is a man-made island, a part of Singapore. On the day we also met 2 Australians just before the party. We shared a cab with them and we partied together on the island, which was so much fun. I think the plan was to all go home together, but we actually lost them on the island and we never said goodbye, which was so tragic. This was the most insane party, and I've never been to anything like this. It is probably one of my favourite memories of travelling. I've never had such a chaotic New Year's Day where I've had to wait at the bus stop for the first bus in the morning. Thank you, Singapore, for being good to me. And it was now time to go on a bus and make my way to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. This coach I think was around 6 hours, and it was only £3, which is amazing. On this day I took the train to see the beautiful golden Buddha at the Batu Caves. Also, if you go, be careful of your belongings because the monkeys will snatch anything. I think Malaysia really surprised me because I didn't think I would meet such great people there. The girl who worked at the hostel I stayed at showed us around her city. She was even nice enough to show us a rooftop view at her apartment. And I also met such lovely girls who were also solo travelling. Some people might think having a big age gap with friends was weird and sometimes awkward, but with us we were just able to bond so easily over having the same desire to travel, have fun and adventure. Can I just say, 1 month in this country is definitely not enough. If you have more time, try and stay and extend your visa. At this point of my trip, I did feel the continuous and tiring cycle of making new friends and unpacking, packing my bags, moving to a new accommodation again and again. Starting fresh is always scary and nerve-wracking, but Thailand is a really great place to meet people from all around the world, and Thai people in general are just so lovely. If you go to Thailand and you are the party person, I highly recommend you book a bodega hostel because they party every day till early in the morning. So if you like that, go. One crazy thing I did was climb up 1,260 steps at a tiger cave temple mountain. I actually felt sick and I was close to throwing up. Now, I know our parents have told us not to talk to strangers online, but before I went to Thailand, I actually contacted a lovely girl from Romania because she was traveling the same time as I was. The first time we met was in a rainstorm. We got dinner at the night market and it just rained so bad. The first thing we did was take a trip on an island hopping tour, which is called 7 Islands. Instead of renting out your own boat, you can go on a boat with 50 other people. Your food is included, the life jackets, goggles, and of course your tour guide. After island hopping to 7 islands, we then watched the sunrise on the boat and then also on the beach. We got to another island and they had prepared a buffet for us. Then it was time to board our ferry to Phi or Phi Islands. The heat was insane, it was just hot 24/7. We stayed there for 4 days and drank coconut water nearly every day. And the sand was so white, the waters were crystal clear. My favourite afternoon on the island is when we rented out kayaks and we journeyed 30 minutes to get to the Monkey Island. Now, being on that kayak was like a fevered dream to me because when it was sunrise, we were actually still in the kayak. I didn't film this part because I was enjoying the moment, but around us, dotted in the sea, was also other people in their kayaks. There was maybe a handful of us and we just sat there and watched the sunset. But after, we had a panic because we had to quickly kayak to shore before it got dark because I didn't want to be stranded in the ocean, and also we had to give our kayaks back. In the end, we had to drag our boat really far away from where the shore was originally. Oh yeah, and these monkeys were so scary, only the baby ones were cute. After the partying, we then hiked to a viewpoint which had such a beautiful view at the top. From the islands, we then took another ferry straight to Phuket. We biked a lot and saw more beaches. I think my legs were so dead after this day. Once you go to like 2 or 3 star hostels, it kind of gets a bit icky. So we booked glamping, which was very bougie for us. As backpackers, this was a treat and we only stayed here for 2 nights. This was the last time I spent with Christina because she was going back to Bangkok so she could fly home to Romania. I would be lying to say I did not miss having someone by my side because I did feel lonely at this point. It's always hard to say goodbye to good friends and then carrying on the journey that you started on your own. Bangkok was a bustling, busy and exciting city. And if you're in Bangkok, definitely visit Koh Sanro because it's filled with so many entertainers. One thing I miss about Thailand is the food and how cheap it is. It is so good and it's definitely worth all the money. Surprisingly, I didn't feel homesick. It was just the mental preparation of moving again, settling in and making new friends, which is always the hardest. With my new friend, we went to the shopping malls and they were crazy. They were just filled with everything that you could ever want. And they were so luxurious and bougie looking. I felt so out of place as a backpacker. It's honestly no joke when you're traveling that time moves so quickly because then it was time to go to Chiang Mai. Please do not miss Chiang Mai from your itinerary because you will regret it. I know I've said so many times that this is my favorite place, blah blah blah, but Chiang Mai is honestly something else. I would much rather be here than a sunny beach. The air seemed more clearer, it was more crisp, it was far away from the city, so there was no air pollution, everything was just so clean. I love being surrounded by nature and I love walking, hiking and just seeing so much green around me. It makes me so happy and I really enjoyed my time here. I saw rice fields in person for the first time, even buffaloes. We also visited one of the tribes in the mountains and we tried their coffee. And the amazing thing is they grow their own coffee beans, so we were able to see their process. I really love package tours, even when you're on your own, because it's a surprise who you meet. And luckily, every tour I've been on, I've met so many amazing people from all over the world who speak different languages and have so many stories to share with me. And now, nearing the end of my trip, my last destination in Thailand was Udon, Thani. The reason why I chose this place, which is so far away from all the touristy places, is because I needed to cross the border to get into Laos, and Udon Thani was the closest border from me. Also, there are other sketchy ways you can get to Laos, such as like a boat that you have to sleep on for, I don't know, I think it was like 10 hours. There are so many horror stories, but I definitely didn't want to do the boat method. If you search on YouTube, you'll definitely find people who have done it. Then we have my experience going into Laos, which is my own horror story and something I never want to experience ever again. Peace out, Thailand. Hopefully I'll see you again in the future. I was left at the Thai and Lao border, so if you are going to travel by coach, just make sure you get on the bus. And that pray the immigration visa process is fast. I was in disbelief with what just happened, but this tested me on how I should act in the moment during a crisis. I was in fight mode. I was ready to track down this bus and get my rucksack. Thank goodness I carried my most important bag, which had my laptop in and my passport and important documents. That is one thing that I knew I mustn't leave alone, because if I don't have a passport, I wouldn't be able to go back home. Apart from that sad story, Laos was the fourth country I was able to visit on my travels. I stayed in Vientiane, which is the capital, and it's not very exciting, so then I moved on to Vang-Vieng. I think the journey by minibus was 5 to 6 hours, and I met this Filipino guy. We both wanted to hike this mountain, so what we did is hire a private tuk-tuk which took us there. The views of the mountains around us was so pretty, but the dust, oh my days. Props to the guy who brought his guitar up because he started playing music at the top. This moment was so precious because it was so nice to hear him play and also watch the sunset. I went on more package tours, and little did I know this is when I would meet my good friend Kelly. We mostly did kayaking and tubing for the day. Soon after, I left for Luang, Prabang. And a quick note for those who get very car sick, I would not recommend the trip from Vang-Vieng to Luang, Prabang. I suggest to be ready with sick bags, and anyone who's done this journey can vouch for me. It is one of the most horrible routes you could take. When Kelly eventually came to Luang Prabang, we met up and explored. Some of them were really random, like this. We were just walking the streets and we saw this little spot, so we had to check it out. We also woke up at the crack of dawn to watch the almsgiving with the monks. Me, Kelly and Nick took a trip to Kaohsiung waterfalls. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. If you go here, bear in mind that depending on what season you visit this falls, the waterfall can either have no water, little water or a lot, so you just have to check the best time to go. This was a really cool day out and we watched Nick go up these water steps. Instead, me and Kelly hiked all the way up the mountain. At the top there's even more streams and fishes to see. People were swimming in the streams, and looking back, I wish I had just jumped in there. We took nice pictures, and then afterwards we went to the night market. We did more hiking and we went to see a sunset at the highest point in Luang Prabang. Despite the amount of people at sunset in the evening, luckily we got there early, so I was able to capture these pictures of Luang Prabang. I was already prepared that there would be so many people, but I was still shocked at how many were there, and it felt very claustrophobic. Me and Kelly were in Luang Prabang for I think over 2 weeks, and we visited everything you could do. So nearly every evening we made it our hobby to find places to watch sunsets. We took a trip to the bamboo bridges and explored what was on the other side of the island. There is one sunset that we both saw on Valentine's Day, and it was this one. This has to be the best of the best. I think in these moments I'm supposed to give you words of encouragement, so all I will say is, if you don't make time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your illness. Just remember that. Comes off the bangs, the sense If you're in Luang, Prabang and you fancy a smoothie, please come to this woman's smoothie stall. Her stall is just near the French cafe called Zurich. One quick story time to share with you is when this man lost his wallet in the hostel room and he woke all of us up so he could check our bags. He did find it, but it wasn't in our room. Besides another scary situation, it was time again to move on. Quick story, I nearly didn't make it to Vietnam because for my second flight the company moved the times forward and this was a quick change, so they didn't give me 24 hours notice. I did try to rebook, but the options were not good, so I risked it. Turned out my check-in was closed, but I think the manager of the airlines, she let me through with the crew and pilot, and I ran through security, went through it so fast. What I learned is don't do short layovers. When I got to Vietnam, I definitely found that I had changed a lot since the beginning of my travels. And spending so much time alone made me appreciate myself more and what I was capable of. On my travels, I liked the sense of freedom and having my own responsibility for my actions. This meant that I could do anything I wanted to do without feeling restricted if I was to travel with someone else. Remember that despite all the fun times I'm showing you where I'm surrounded by many people, I also had my quieter times and also bad days. However, don't assume that quieter times means sad days. It was actually a time where I could reflect on myself, plan and organise my trips, but also get to know the culture, my surroundings, or the country that I was in, explore and do things that made me feel like a local. Don't be afraid to be your own best friend and getting to know yourself. I really recommend that everyone tries to solo travel once in their life. Now, you don't have to do what I did and push yourself in the deep end, but you can try a weekend trip in the same country, maybe in a different city. Or you could visit the countryside, the seaside, whatever you feel like doing. And isn't it interesting that we have to care about things society wants us to care about, such as university to get that degree to secure your job. And I knew that I had to go to university for my career, but I thought to myself that in order to be the best in my field, I needed to travel the world and see it for myself. I didn't want to look at the world in other people's lenses. I wanted to have my own looking glass. When I was in Minh, which is further down the country, I woke up early and travelled by quad bikes to the top of the sand dunes to watch the sunrise. Being on these quad bikes was so much fun, and of course the only way you can go down is going on it at full speed down the sand dune. The sand dunes and the windsurfing is all that there really is to Minh, so only stay here for a few days and then move on to your next destination. My last stop was of course the city Ho Chi Minh. It's a very wild place in terms of nightlife. I was lucky that I was careful and did not have anything stolen from me, so be careful if you go to big cities like this. I believe I was in District 1, which is where all the nightlife is. I met an Irish friend who was staying at the same hostel as me, and he took me on rides on his motorbike. My favourite thing to do is go on late night drives, and we did that. He showed me parts of Ho Chi Minh City and visited different districts. We also snuck into this park so we could see the view of the skyline and all the city lights. Next, I made sure to go to the War Museum because I took history at GCSEs. And it was my favourite subject at school, so going to the War Remnants Museum helped me to refresh my memory on the war. I had a lot of fun in the city and I very much enjoyed the food. But before I left, I had to make sure to sort out my hair since it was getting very bad. Thank you, Vietnam, for having me. I flew to Taiwan, Kaohsiung, which would be my final country on my travels. After hiking the well-known Monkey Mountain in Kaohsiung, a friend that I met on couch surfing showed me around the night market with 2 other girls. If I've been able to convince you so far that solo travelling is beneficial, but please take note that no matter how much planning you do, and this is for everything in life, that nothing can prepare you for the unexpected and plans can go wary. We are all different people, and depending on you as a person, you are going to make different memories than I did and do different things. It's up to you what you can make out of your situation. So do not compare yourself to other people. To get from the bottom of the country, which is where I was, to the top, which is Taipei, I needed to take the bullet train, which I was so hyped for. Overall, my experience on the train was very comfortable. It went very fast and I was only on there for a couple of hours. My plan was to originally spend a lot of time in Taipei, but I was actually only there for less than 24 hours. Funnily enough, I met this girl who was also going back to Europe. I approached her in 7-Eleven because she was looking for vegetarian options and the guy who was working there didn't know what she wanted. After connecting, we then explored Taipei together since we both needed to head to the airport at the same time to catch our flights. She was super sweet, we walked around together and had bubble tea as well. A good thing was that our flights were in the evening, so we spent the whole day exploring. But now it was time to say goodbye. For anyone who is inspired to solo travel in the future, and especially women who want to go alone, I want to comfort you and say that it's okay. Not everyone is going to get it, not everyone is going to understand why you want to do this, but if you want to do it for your own reasons, then I don't see what the problem is. If you are mature and you think that you can take up the responsibility and you want to challenge yourself, find out who you are out there, I think you should definitely go for it. And also it's very useful to follow groups on Facebook of other female solo travellers who have gone through their own journeys. They can give you advice, some tips, and also you can meet up with each other if you end up in the same country at the same time. That's how I met 2 of my friends that I was able to enjoy my trip with. For a long time, I've been an anxious person and I no longer wanted anxiety to be the thief of my growth. It didn't mean I had to travel, but for me it felt right and it was a gut feeling. This year I've just been grateful for living and I hope that in 2021 we stay healthy and safe. God bless everyone and have a happy new year.